the music in a minute. That's right. All about home construction here on WATA. And again, thanks to all of our listeners out there, especially those here on the radio, WATA, and of course, all of our listeners on the podcast. We appreciate all of you. Thanks for listening to us. Like this, subscribe to this, and share this with friends. And all those on the radio can listen to us, Randy, on YouTube, and then they can comment, and then we'll be like stars. We'll be YouTube stars.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, good morning, man. How are you?
Good.
Well, happy Saturday, buddy, and thanks for coming in.
Happy Saturday to you and everybody out there.
That's it. So, of course, we know the meal at the VFW went well. We can already say that. We just know it went well.
Yeah, that's right.
So, no, appreciate everyone coming out. When is the next VFW food?
Breakfast.
Breakfast coming up in a few weeks, right?
Yep.
So, that's it.
Actually, yeah, we have breakfast. The Rock and Roll Kitchen gets to stand down. There'll be the country bunkins out in the parking lot. Chuck's going to do a 200-pound hog.
Woo, nice.
It's been quite a few years since Chuck has done a hog. So.
Last one was good, I remember.
Yeah, our pig picking.
You going to stay up all night with them?
No. I'm trying to break him guys of that habit.
Well,
There's science behind cooking. You know that.
Yeah, well, and you would know the science behind it, so.
And I've done it a long time.
No, that's cool, though. So that'll be coming up the August?
Let's look here. Yeah.
That's cool.
Since they built the deck, they can't cook on the side anymore, so that will be August 16th.
August, just a few weeks away, really, when you look at it.
Well, time flies.
That's cool.
I never believed my mama when she said, the older you get, the faster it got. But
Seems to be the case, don't it?
Yeah.
That's it. Well, cool stuff. Well, that's great. That's great. So look forward to hearing more about that. And of course, again, the breakfast coming up at the beginning of the month. That's always a good popular thing as well. So head on over to the VFW here in Boone. We appreciate that. And thanks for all the things that those guys do. So
yeah. And, that's the reason I help them.
That's it. So, well, cool stuff. Well, I'm assuming, things are going well in the construction world. I've been talking to a few people, and it seems like everyone's still pretty busy, especially subs seem to be.
Subs are doing better, and, they've got so much. Everybody needs plumbers. Everybody needs heat and air.
Right.
Even us contractors need help, okay? Help's hard to find. And everybody you hire, everybody's trying to steal people's employees. How about that?
Yeah. Well, the trades are still a huge thing. And I actually, and I'm going to paraphrase, I think it was Mike Rowe's quote. I can't remember now. I may be attributed to the wrong one, but they were talking about how, everyone was talking years ago, handful of years ago, 10 years ago, they were talking about how, go into coding. Coding's going to be the next big thing. All the kids need to grow up and go into college and learn coding. Well, AI is taking that over now. But you know what AI is not taking over? And that's electricians and plumbing and all the trades.
Yeah. Believe it or not, England has a brick mason machine.
That's cool.
In the 80s, they had a block laying machine.
Mm-hmm.
But
you still need those trades people. That's the key. And it goes back. It's always been a thing though, because I actually learned about this thing the other day, where when Benjamin Franklin wrote his will, his final, he had changed before he died. He rewrote his will, and he gave money to two places, Philadelphia and Boston. And he gave it to this. It was a loan program for tradesmen. So I mean, think about 200 years ago, 250 years ago, I guess at this point, he was trying to get people. So I won't get into the Benjamin Franklin story, but it's really fascinating stuff. He didn't grow up with like a silver spoon, right? He worked his way up, and one of the things that was challenging for him getting started was that. When you are in that time period, and even today, right? Like you have to have this initial funding to get started. You can't just decide to wake up and start a business, right? Like there's you have to have training that goes into it. When you get the training, you have to have some kind of upfront cost, regardless of what that trade is, right? Like whatever that job you're starting is, to be an entrepreneur, you have to have some kind of upfront cost, right? And so Benjamin Franklin had put together this loan program where he had put aside so much money, and what it was is this money was to be given out as loans with like a 5% interest to these tradespeople. And so, as I would apply for this loan, and then that would give me the startup cost for what I need to be an apprentice, and then to put my shingle up. Remember, that was a big thing, right? Like put your shingle up on the building, right? And so then I would, of course, in the loan program, you pay it back, 5% interest, you pay it back, and then that money goes into the pot, and then it keeps building. And it was just a really fascinating thing. I mean, there's a lot more to it. It was really fun. But my point being is, Benjamin Franklin was thinking ahead. How do we keep people in the trades? Now, did Benjamin Franklin think about HVAC and electricians? Probably not. But it still trades people, and I think that's, to me, is the crucial thing. And it just goes to show, though, that it's always been an issue. Like we need tradespeople, and we're going to continue to need tradespeople.
Yes, we are. Evan was on a few weeks ago, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And here he is. He's 12 years old. Mm-hmm. He's got a bachelor's degree in coding, and he can't get a job.
Yeah.
Because the federal government won't allow him.
Won't allow him. I know. Well, I mean, and that's it. Like, don't get me wrong. Like I went to college. I work in the education field, and I think that's an important thing. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to minimize that. But I also think that equally as important is people who go into the trades. And
we're in kindergarten, first grade, second grade. We're all given a ruler. Mm-hmm. And all those rulers have all the measurements that's on a tape.
Yep.
Well, once they get out of second grade, everybody forgets how to use a ruler. Yeah. And then they'll come to work. Here, we've got guys coming out here, 24, 25-year-old. Well, I don't know how to read a tape.
2 marks past the 1.
Yeah, and I mean, that gets pretty frustrating, and then, what is even worse is what I call a stupid tape.
Yeah.
Because it's got 1/16, 1/8, 3/16
it's got written on it.
And it's got so many doggone numbers on it that I'll throw it down through the woods. I won't use it.
I'm with you. And then I find myself reading that instead of just looking at reading it like a regular tape measure. But I tell you, ones that get me worse than that are the ones that have the centimeters on the bottom. When you get those cheap ones, and they got a little centimeter on one side and the regular on the top. It's, oh my gosh, because those numbers. Because I don't know how you read your tape, but I use both the top and the bottom of the tape. Depends on what it is, right? And so,
well, I really like Lufkin tapes. And because at one time, Lufkin's had 30 seconds on theirs.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so you get into a Stanley tape, and you give a measurement 3/16 heavy.
Yeah.
Well, the guy that's sawing automatically knows that it's a 30/2 of an inch.
Right.
I was explaining to somebody last night at the VFW about cabinet making. Because, you get, like this countertop right here. In the new studio here, just slick as glass. Right. Well, if you can pull a hair out of your head and lay it down and feel it with your fingers, that's about 5/1000ths of an inch.
Yes.
And people go, what? I never thought of that.
Yeah. I grew up, speaking of tape measures, and then to play off that, right? I grew up in, my dad worked at Starrett up in Mount Airy, and it was the granite department that he worked in. Of course, Starrett talking about tape measures. I like a good Starrett tape measure from the 90s. Like they were heavy, like they didn't break. You knew it was in your pocket, but it wasn't too heavy to carry around, but you knew it was in your pocket, heavy plastic, and it seemed like it always rolled back up.
Or a Mason's tape was intense.
Yeah.
I just couldn't grasp tense at all.
But I remember Dad's, when he was working with the granite, they would get those granite. He was an inspector. His job was to make sure that it was flat. And again, when I say flat, it's like half of a thickness of your hair. if it's on there that's not flat, right? And so I just always, it's just fascinating stuff. And measurements is a big deal. And
It is.
I feel like we're going more and more away with that. Speaking of technology, more and more people are using, there's apps for your phone now that you can measure things with your phone, and I just don't trust them.
No, I don't either. I'm sorry. Now I have a laser, like if I'm measuring like for trim and stuff that I use,
Yep.
and I really like that. And yes, until we trusted it, we pulled tapes on the same room. Most people don't realize that, if you're working on a framing crew, every morning you need to check everybody's tapes, because if somebody drops their tape during the day,
Yeah.
and they bend the tang on it, and that can lead you as much as an eighth inch off on your cuts. And people go, "What?" Yeah, that's the
Right.
reason that plays on the end of the tape, so you can adjust your tape.
Is that what it's for?
Yeah, that's right. And that way you do get it heavier a lot when you ask for it. And because this rough framing, I'm sorry, don't work.
Oh, well, I was gonna say, like, you're obviously not one of those "that's good enough for my house" things.
No, it's not. Matter of fact, there's a mathematical equation for every eighth inch that you have a gap in a stud that tells you how much cold air will be allowed through that crack.
Okay.
That's what the calculator's for, so you can do that.
Well, there you go. There you go. So, well, cool stuff. Cool stuff. Again, don't forget about the breakfast coming up. I'm glad everything worked out with the chicken dinner. So, all right, let's get into our topic a little bit for the day. So last week we talked a little bit about retaining walls, and we talked about the wooden retaining walls, especially those with the railroad ties, things like that. Cross ties, and we talked about the gabion walls, which are the cage things, which seems to be making a big impression lately. I feel like I see those a lot all over the place.
Getting back to those,
Yep.
if you're on a farm and you got a lot of rock on your place, that would be an excellent retaining wall.
It's like the old school rock walls when you're plowing out the field, you throw the rocks off. Now you throw it in a cage and you got a wall.
Yeah, and
It makes sense. It's almost like those guys 200 years ago knew what they were doing.
well, like now I don't know about my 90 horsepower tractor, but I know that going through the field with my 47 horse Kubota, if I filled up the bucket 3 times, that was 2.2 ton.
It's a lot of rock.
It is.
Yeah.
And we could pick up a ton of rock. As long as we could get the truck within a quarter of a mile, we could do a ton in about 20 minutes.
Okay.
And because here in the mountains, the rock comes to the top from the frost. That's the reason you always picking up rock in the garden all the time.
No, it doesn't come up for the frost. It just grows in my gardens.
Yeah. Okay.
I put seed down for vegetables and rock grows instead. It's magic.
And but they've been picking rock up on that field longer than I have.
Yeah.
And it grows rock.
Does.
Like
I'm
you said.
telling you, it grows rock. So, okay, so that's cool. So, but one of the, I guess the second, I say second. I mean, I have no statistics on this, but when I think of retaining wall, homeowners retaining wall, I think of the wooden ties. But the second thing I think of are these block walls. Typically, those retaining segmented blocks, right? That's not really 100% squared. They taper back and typically have some kind of decorative finish on the front. I mean, so that's probably those segmented block walls are probably almost as common as the wooden ones, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, but
Especially smaller ones.
yes, sitting here doing my research and stuff, and I got to looking up Lowe's segmented block. Now Lowe's segmented block has a solid block, and they're 4 by 12 inches, and they're $2.68 a piece. They also have a block that you can put in with fasteners. It's got steel rods that goes in, some sort of rod, and
Right.
But the maximum height on those walls are only 2 foot high. And after you go to 2 foot, then you put the cap on it. That's not included in the height of the wall.
Right.
And the cap is just decorative. And so that's a pretty good idea right there. Mm-hmm. And but they're only 4 inches high. Then I got to looking at Home Depot's, or that's a 4-inch by 12-inch block. I didn't write down the width, but it weighs 17 pounds, so that's pretty good for the DIY person right there.
Sure.
And there's no geocloth required at a wall 2 foot high.
Okay.
But they do have lips on them, so they back set so far so they can help. Yep. It still would help if you went ahead and put gravel behind it for
drainage.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Then I got to looking up Home Depot segmented wall, and their block is 8 inches high, but their block weighs 80 pounds. Okay, so these are hollow block, so you can put gravel in them, because these hollow block, you put gravel in them too as you go up, and that is actually to hold the geocloth, because once you cross 2 foot, you put a geocloth, go up another 3 runs, put geocloth back in it,
sure,
and backfill it.
So when you're doing this though, one thing I've always been confused about is there's no dead man. Like we talked last week on the show about the dead man or T-post that goes back into the ground. These block walls, these segmented block walls, you don't have anything like that.
Correct. That's because you use the filter cloth, and it's not really a filter cloth. But what it is that geocloth acts as your dead man, because it's the block above it. It requires the weight of the block and gravel above it to hold it in place, okay? And that's the biggest difference. And the GeoGrid comes in 3 different types. It's got fabric it pulls one way, so if you put the lateral in, it could stretch more. See what I'm getting?
Yeah, I see what
Instead of going front to back,
yeah.
Then you have the filter cloth that does run directional.
Yeah.
And then you have the geo cloth that has both properties in it, so it don't stretch it off.
Right.
And generally behind those walls, you put 3/4 clean stone behind them.
Yeah.
But you generally start these walls out on gravel.
Right. Well, the drainage is the biggest thing, regardless of what you do. Right. Some kind of drainage stone. Maybe a tile pipe thing in the back, that's going to prevent the hydrostatic.
Correct.
I said hydraulic before. I guess it's more hydrostatic.
Yes.
But that hydrostatic pressure.
We've been corrected on that once.
I know. I know. Well, I mean, it's my bad. It's hydraulic versus hydrostatic. We're getting pretty technical here. But yeah, the hydrostatic pressure. And again, the proper backfill is sort of the key to the long-term performance, right? Like the key to it lasting and sustaining is that proper backfill.
Well, to give you an idea, totally off subject, we know water weighs 8 pounds a gallon.
Right.
All right. So if you've got a house and you want to put an aquarium in your house or a water bed in your house, then you need to figure 12, 14 pounds to a gallon, or take your weight and the square footage of your bed and then add to that for your floor system.
Right.
See what I'm getting at? I know that's totally off topic, but the same thing with the retaining wall. As you go up, you got to go further back with the GeoGrid to hold the wall. And it's all controlled by the weight of what's above the geocloth.
Right. Yeah.
So like that storm we had yesterday, if we had 5 inches of rain, or let's say Helene, we had 36 inches of rain.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can't remember what the number was, but they talked about how many cubic foot of water we got.
Right.
To cause these floods and stuff.
Yeah. Well, and that's a lot of hydrostatic
pressure. Correct.
All right. Tell you what, let's take a break and we'll come right back and get back into it right after this. Thanks for listening to us.
Are you looking for a sawmill dealership that can provide you with the quality equipment you need to get the job done? Look no further than Blue Ridge Sawmills. We offer the full line of Hudson sawmills and sawmilling equipment, from portable sawmills to skidding winches. At Blue Ridge Sawmills, we understand that every project is different, which is why we offer a wide range of sawmilling services. We can help you from everything from finding the right mill for your farm, hobby, or even your business. We also offer a variety of sawmilling supplies such as blades and debarkers so you can get everything you need in one place. If you're looking for a sawmill dealership that can provide you with the quality equipment and the service you need, then come to Blue Ridge Sawmills. We're here to help you get the job done. Call or visit our Cana, Virginia store at 276-755-3833 or our Asheboro, North Carolina location at 336-964-8304.
That's right. All About Home Construction here on WATA. And again, thanks to all of our listeners out there. Give us an email, allabouthomeconstruction@gmail. Check out the Facebook page, All About Home Construction. All of those listening on the podcast can also comment. It's pretty cool. So, yeah, thanks for listening to us. We love hearing from our listeners, too, Randy. It's fun stuff.
Yes, it is. And we do appreciate it.
We
Thank
do.
you.
We do. So, all right, talking a little bit about retaining walls again, kind of tying off of last week's show of retaining walls. Talking a little bit today about the segmented block retaining walls, and again, these are the common ones. You see these a lot. I feel like you especially see these in the small ones. The less than the 4 foot tall, right? The ones that are a couple feet tall and around the gardens kind of thing, around the driveway, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I guess part of that is because they're so easy to get. You can go to a big box store, pick them up, bring them home.
No concrete.
Yeah, exactly. They're dry fitted. I think one of the things that I feel like I see a lot as far as the mistakes when people put it in is the foundation for it, because to do it right, you still need some type of foundation underneath. In other words, you're not just going to put this on bare dirt.
No, I don't believe you do. Truly, I believe you dig it. You have to dig out to, what we call virgin soil.
Right, the frost at least, right?
Well,
Frost.
no, you don't. You don't have to go down that far.
Okay.
But you got to take the topsoil off, because topsoil is the softest layer that you have.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. It's like you're gonna, people who just stack them up on the ground. I mean, it's gonna move when it
that ground's
freezes and
gonna give.
thaws.
So
Right.
what they want you to do is they want you to dig out. They want you to dig it out flat and down to solid ground. Okay.
Yeah.
You might have to go 8 inches. You might only have to go 4 inches.
Okay.
Depends on the soil you have. You might have to go 2 foot. See what I'm getting at?
Yep.
And one thing you can do once you dig down, you can actually backfill that with clean stone.
That's what I was gonna say. Would you, if you were doing this,
I would put clean stone.
You would
in
go back in and put a couple inches of stone
and pack it.
Yeah.
And yes, you would get a tamper to pack it. So it's a good, I can't. This Home Depot block's 8 inches wide. I can't remember what the Lowe's was, but then if you pack it real good, and then if you put your stone in starting level, okay?
Right.
And then your wall will come up level, and it has less of a chance of the ground heaving it and causing it.
Yeah.
Because that's what causes the ground to heave, is the moisture from the wintertime.
Right.
And it freezes and pushes up. And so pack it real good. Put your gravel behind it, like Terry said. Get the hydrostatic pressure off of it. Then when you get through, put a flat mat, not a geocloth, but a filter cloth that it comes 3 foot wide at Lowe's.
Right.
All right. You can put your dirt on it, put your plants in it, and then it won't affect the stability of the wall.
Yeah.
And you can landscape it what you want. Do not landscape it with trees, because tree roots will push it
it. Right. Yeah, the tree roots are bad for just about anything wall wise, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So, but what I like about it again is it's easy to install. I mean, you're literally it's almost like the Legos, right? Like you're setting one on top and it locks into place.
Figure out what you're going to do though, because like I said, the brick at Lowe's, or the segmented block at Lowe's, weighs 17 pounds, where at Home Depot they weigh 80 pounds.
But size matters. I mean,
correct. Well, you're building the wall
right.
twice as fast with that one.
Right. And now, one thing I don't understand, and I know this is more of an engineering question, right? Is when you're trying to figure out, okay, you got to hold back so much dirt. How thick do you need to go? one of my concerns with these segmented blocks are they're all the same, right? Like I'm gonna buy the same block to hold up a bank versus a hill, right?
Correct.
But I guess that goes back to the engineered part and permitting part.
Correct, because if you're going to hold back a big bank, then the segmented block's going to work, but you might want to go to another type of block, a bigger block. It weighs a ton.
Now, so I guess essentially the next step up would be those large ones that you see, the concrete blocks, where they stack on top of each other. And some of those you can actually get decorative outsides too.
Correct.
Facings, I guess you'd say. But yeah, okay. So that's the key, and yeah, pretty cool.
I was at a job this last week, and they had made a retaining wall out of regular CMU block, 12-inch block.
Right.
You can do that, but do not use regular CMU block. Use retaining wall block.
Why?
Well, retaining wall block doesn't have any webs in the end.
Ah, okay.
All right, so the concrete is a solid pour.
Yeah. Okay.
And it calls for two runs. You can put 2 runs a half-inch, but the engineer probably called for 2 runs of 5/8 to go in it. But I can almost guarantee this wall I looked at was probably a hollow wall. I didn't know, I couldn't see the bottom of it, so I couldn't tell you the height, but they had came back in later and put pilasters on it because the wall was moving.
Bowing out.
Yeah, so if you're going to build it out of block, then go ahead and interject your pilasters in as you lay the block.
Gotcha.
Okay. And so generally as a rule of thumb, well, I don't know, I'm not an engineer, so I can't call it out, but as I would think, whatever the height of the wall, the pilaster base would go out 1/3 the height, and then it steps back.
That makes sense.
Because we did a foundation in Linville Ridge, and the pilasters that we had were actually 12 foot wide.
Gotcha.
And our wall was 18 foot high. And so we actually, believe it or not, instead of being like a step back pilaster, we tied them back in and made tall walls and tied them back into a fireplace that was there to tie it all together.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
so, like I said, if you cross 4 foot, you're going to have to hire an engineer, and that just saves you money down the road. It costs you money up front,
Right.
but you don't want your wall falling.
Well, yeah, that's the key, and I just feel like a lot of times the retaining wall is sort of half thought of. It's sort of the last, like oh no, we forgot, we got to put a wall up here because this bank is eroding away, and I feel like sometimes it's just rushed and got done quickly and cheaply, but that's when you have a lot of problems with them because we've seen a lot of these bowed out, broken walls, if you will.
Well, give you an idea. We went on a job, had an old retaining wall, and I said, I can price out putting that retaining wall in, replacing it. And they said, we already got somebody to do it. And I said, no problem. All right, the wall was about 5 foot tall. A couple of weeks later, we went back, put the wall, and the new wall was in.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of weeks later, we went back, and the new wall fell.
Not there anymore, was it?
No, it fell. And what they did was they had taken the dead men and sharpened the ends like a stake and drove them in with a sledgehammer, then cut them off flush to the wall. And so there was nothing holding them back in the back.
Just pushing them back out, right?
Yeah, and one part we didn't hit on it, on the retaining wall, was where they're taking I-beams and putting in, and then they're putting treated lumber between them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think we got 105
Yeah.
up Fosco. We got a wall like that on the side of the road.
Yeah.
And but then you got to use that high dollar treated lumber.
Right. Right. Or creosote treated.
Yeah. Well,
rubber.
no. Well, you'd have to notch your creosote, but it'd work. I couldn't. Steel's been expensive for years.
Yes. Yes. Well, yeah. I don't know. It's fascinating stuff. I mean, I like the block look because there's so many textures you can get. I mean, if you go to the box
colors.
store, yeah, I was gonna say you go to the box store. There's several different ones to choose from. There for a while it was that one. It looked like a bag of Quikrete had been
Correct.
bored.
Well, you
bored
can still,
into a form,
you can still buy that one.
Right. But what I like is that there's so many choices now, and it's cool. It's cool. But again, I think one thing that gets forgotten a lot is that anything over 4 foot is that you got to have that permit and engineering.
Correct.
And how many times do we see DIY where it's just like, well, it's a 6 foot wall. I can do that.
Well, some people have the smarts to do it.
Right. But when it comes to anything over 4 foot, the building inspection department would tend to say otherwise.
Yeah, and they are building inspectors that will make you tear it back out just to prove a point.
Right.
I was looking up here because I'm on a site that has 70 types of retaining walls.
Wow, 70?
Yeah,
That's a lot.
70 retaining wall ideas. Okay, and the data was gathered between Google Search, Home Depot, and Home Advisor, and the average cost of a retaining wall ranges from $1,000 to $9,000. Well, that's not a very good explanation to me. But for a small to medium-sized build, the average range between $20 to $60 a square foot, or $30 to $150 a linear foot, which with gravel at $51 a ton here, a ton don't go far.
Not at all.
But for large builds, it can go anywhere from $60 to $125 a square foot, and expect to pay between $50 to $75 an hour on labor, and because you get to lifting those 80-pound block, that's quite heavy.
A lot. They do get heavy. Yeah. Now, when you do these, can you get the tiered wall out of these blocks?
Yes.
Okay.
Most of them set back 3
Well, I
quarters.
know that. Yeah, I knew they all sit back and sort of slope back, if you will. But, yeah. So, but if you have a large bank, a large hill that you're holding back, you're going to go up and then terrace that back and then just basically start a new wall. Is that
You can do that.
okay?
But what I would do is I'd start my new wall on that gravel you put in,
Right.
on
Not
that layer of geocloth. So let's say your wall's 4 foot high. Your next wall is not going to be flush with the top of that 4 foot wall. It's going to be down 1 block or where your geocloth is so you can set on it. Now, I'm not an expert on it. That's the reason I hire them, because
Well, I was just saying it didn't really. I guess a lot of these questions are arbitrary because it all depends on the engineer.
correct on how they
Yeah.
how they draw it. Now, if I'm reading the code right, if you build a 4 foot wall, you step back 4 foot, you can build another 4 foot wall. You step back 4 foot, build another 4, and you don't have to have permit C because that wall's not all continuous height.
Different walls.
Correct. So there you go.
Yeah. Perfect.
But you do start the bottom and work up, not top down.
Yeah. Where'd your driveway go? Well, I kept pushing it out.
We were looking at a house here a while back, and their retaining wall was probably 60 foot high.
Okay, well, you just brought a question to my mind: is how do you figure out how tall to make the retaining wall? Like some of it's obvious. You for instance, you digging out a driveway or something, right? Like you've got that exposed dirt, but as it starts to round off and pull away from that, how do you figure out the height that you need to go? In other words, are you just going straight to the top of the dirt, but then there's a hill behind it? Are you going taller
Well,
and
like
then
that
filling
one,
in with
like
drainage?
that one retaining wall we built. We were actually 2 foot above the 2 foot above the driveway, and the driveway was still 15 foot wide.
Right.
All right. At that time, legally, I guess we should have built that retaining wall 3 foot above the driveway, because eventually had to come in and put a rail on it
Right.
for safety reasons.
Right. Well, that's what I was, just thinking. Like some of these retaining walls, like I'm just thinking back at like when I see them in an application, right? Like you've dug out this hill, you've built a house, you've got this backyard now. You've stacked up retaining wall to keep the bank from falling in and collapsing on you. But I feel like too, like sometimes it's too short. Like in other words, there's still dirt that if that hydrostatic pressure builds up, there's dirt going to rush over that wall.
Well, it is, but it might take it a long time to do it, because you got your geocloth, you got, and I truly believe that if that dirt does flow over, that's catastrophic.
Yeah.
All right, that it's going to hold, and then you might end up having to get back.
But then again, I think you just said a key word there, right? Is like the most of the people who cut corners like that are not putting that geocloth.
Correct.
Right. In other words,
and if there's no geocloth in it, and you just built your wall, and that slide's coming down, it's going to blow it out.
Do it. Yeah.
I'm looking at a split face block here that is a laid block, but it's also a hollow block, and now you have to go back and pour concrete in this wall.
Okay.
But the wall has curves in it, so it doesn't have to have the dead men in it.
Yeah, because now you're getting that.
But I can see that they've got a 5/8 rebar in it every 6 inches, and then they got one running down through the middle.
Yeah, gotcha.
So I mean, you got to have horizontal and vertical support in any kind of masonry retaining wall.
Right. That's the key. That's what holds it up. So cool. Tell you what, let's take another break, and we'll come right back and talk about more retaining walls right after this. Thanks for listening to us.
The Boone VFW Post 7031 is looking at making improvements to their Veterans Memorial Wall, and you can help. Here's Chuck.
We could do engraved bricks to cover the memorial. It's in honor of the veterans who have served and some that have given their all for our country. And that's the one thing that we feel as the VFW that we can do to honor those who have come before and those who are even present today.
But Chuck, what do we have to do to participate?
You don't have to be a war veteran in order to be a part of this memorial. It's just that you served.
What is the cost?
That fee is only $50, but it's a lifetime investment.
If you would like to help participate by honoring a family member, a friend, or a loved one, you can contact the Boone VFW Post 7031 at 828-264-9570. They are on VFW Drive just off of State Farm Road here in Boone. Thank you for all that have served.
That's right. All about home construction here on WATA. And again, thanks to everyone out there listening to us and still digging the new studios here in Boone. Randy, I don't know about you.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's different.
Yeah, getting used to it still. It's pretty cool stuff. But no, we appreciate it. And I don't know, it's just a lot of fancy lights over here for me. It's great. I like it. I feel like a little kid in a candy store.
Yeah, they hid the candy jar from me.
Yes, they have hidden the candy jar. I'm going to have to get on Mark and be like, dude, Randy's not functioning on Saturday mornings because he can't steal candy from your candy jar. I'll have to look around.
It's over.
I see one there. It's just hidden. Oh, it's hidden.
They just took it off the desk, didn't they?
Yeah, they took it off the desk. Well, the desk is nice and smooth and pretty and clean and big. Anyway, so now talking a little bit about retaining walls today and all about home construction. And it's cool. Tying off of last week's show when we talked about a couple different types of retaining walls, the gabion walls. We talked about the the timbers and things like that. And so this week talking a little more about the segmented blocks. Now I want to go back just a little bit. When we talk about retaining walls in general, right? The number one key to this is just like anything else with construction, and that is to come up with a plan before you start.
Correct.
Don't just jump into it, right?
That's right. In landscape, see, most retaining walls are designed around landscapes. Mm-hmm. And so think about what you're going to do, what kind of plants you're going to build, or what kind of plants you're going to plant.
Right.
And then that way that will help you out deciding on what kind of block you're going to use.
Yeah. Well, but there's a lot that goes into it, right? Also, it's not just like what do you want it to look like when it's done? Like that's a big key factor, probably the biggest factor in terms of aesthetics, but soil type, the slope, the drainage,
correct.
How far away you are, like what structures are there? Are you talking about beside the driveway? Are you talking about against the house or building? right? Like all of those things, you have to come up with a plan first.
That's right. Planning can save you thousands of dollars down the road. I mean, if you're going to put, let's say you put $1,000 into that, all right, and then all of a sudden you didn't build it right, and then we get a lane again. Now it blows this out.
Now you're starting over.
All right, you're starting over, but you got to probably hire somebody to remove the debris. Yeah. You got to get out there where you're moving debris, get your block back. You know, just because you missed the gravel, okay, for or the 4-inch drain line,
right?
And
because drainage is again the key, because it's getting that water away, that hydrostatic pressure out of there. So whether it's a French drain or backfilled with gravel and stone, right, it's getting that water out is important.
They built the wall at the VFW. They put 3-inch drains in it, so it could catch water through the gravel before it got all the way to the bottom.
Yep.
But they got a way for it to get out in the bottom.
Now, what about weep holes?
Well, in the segmented block, they're not solid. Okay?
So they would, okay.
So they'll leak.
That makes sense.
The water's got to run down between them.
Yeah.
Because if you're putting gravel, now the Lowe's blocks are solid, so you don't have to worry about that. So no water's going to get in between them.
Right.
All right. Well, the Home Depot block are hollow, so you put gravel in them, put the geocloth, put the block down, put gravel, and it's just over and over just like that.
Right.
And so you make sure that you take care of that. And one thing that will make your wall stronger is a curve. Straight walls look great. Okay?
Right.
But a curved wall is stronger than a straight wall.
Sure. Well, it's because an arch is stronger than a square.
Correct.
So yeah. Yeah.
But just do a little planning.
All right. Well, this is another question for in general, right? Doesn't matter what type, what materials you're using, but typically a terraced wall a tiered wall, right? That's tiered and terraced back. In other words, steps. Think of the you go up so far, you step back, you go up, step back, go up. That's going to be stronger and better than a straight tall wall, because it's, for one, it's contouring more towards the slope of the land.
Correct.
And it's holding, but it's allowing that that pressure to not build up over one straight tall
Correct.
dam, essentially, right?
Yeah.
I mean that's what you're building if you build a tall one.
Well, to give you an idea, Staples has got a big wall behind it. Look how tall that retaining wall is.
Yeah.
Now, but they had to go in and stabilize the rock when they took it out. So they had to drill the rock, and put anchors back in it to stabilize it.
Well, that's the thing, and again, that's where the engineering part comes into this. There's a lot of science that goes behind a retaining wall we don't think about, I think.
Well, the good thing about you hiring an engineer is the engineer takes the responsibility off you. The responsibility is you to build it the way the engineer designed it. And as long as you build it that way, you're fine.
Nice. Well, that's the key to about all of it when it comes to building, isn't it?
Yeah.
When build it right, in other words. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Build it right, and you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
And building it right sometimes involves, talking to people who know what they're doing.
Well, as a rule of thumb, it doesn't take long to build it right as it does to build it wrong.
Right. I like it. So.
Well, that's my philosophy.
Cool. So when do we call in the pros, though? Like, when do I call in Randy Blake to come look at this?
Well, actually, you call in Randy Blake. Randy Blake calls somebody else.
Okay.
And that's my job as a general contractor, is to do a job, hire the correct people to do the job. The biggest thing we got about Watauga County is we don't have a lot of help here. You know that.
Right.
So sometimes we're all backlogged a little.
Yeah.
And Elaine's definitely got everybody backlogged.
Sure. Especially when we're talking about retaining walls, right? Because that is something that a lot of people who didn't have other damage at least had water damage from, and with that came with retaining wall damage, right? lots of water moved, lots of dirt,
Oh gosh, yeah.
and a lot of retaining walls. Because I mean, we've seen flat out landslides from that, right? Like we're still digging out 10 months later, digging out landslides.
Well,
You got to have a big wall to hold back a landslide, right?
yes, you do. And you know, I've not seen the slides. I mean, the 40 flood.
Yeah.
They talked about slides, and my uncle said they had one flood or one slide on the mountain up there. But since we had the hurricane, there's 8 slides on the mountain up there.
Yeah.
And if you get on the U.S. geological site, they will show you the slides that's happened 10 to 20,000 years ago. And it's totally amazing what they come up with, showing the slides through history. So what if we turn around and have a wet winter, cold winter, it'll be totally amazing what trees will probably come down this winter.
Sure. I think over the next 2 or 3 years, we're going to suffer from damages, if you will. Things are going to change, is what I'm trying to say. There's going to be shifts over the next couple of years because the water is making new routes and the land's just not settled yet. And I think with that comes the trees and stuff. The roots are not reestablished and things like that. So I feel like the next couple of years is going to be just a lot of, I don't know if I should say a lot more flooding, but a lot of different flooding. Because think about it, like we've had some rains over the last few weeks that have been heavy rains. That's moved a lot of gravel and dirt and rock and things.
Well, we got that 6-inch rain that while back, and they had the equipment down below Mass Gap and parked on that new river access.
Yep.
And the water got up to halfway up the tracks on the equipment, and I'm going,
Oops.
It should be clear all the way down the river to the lake.
Right. Well, but that goes back, like I said, water's it's still establishing itself. The things are still moving around, and I just worry. It's of course, yeah. I guess it's funny though, because what are the two things we're talking about, right? When it comes to long-term damages from the hurricane, aside from those individual places. I mean, I know people are still rebuilding their houses and stuff, but in terms of the land, right? You got dirt moving still, and and you got now these trees, these dead trees all over.
Well, we got a project we're working on. The house was built in 1884. We've been piddling with it since after the storm.
Right.
The house was built on rock piers.
Nice.
Well, the mud coming down filled all the way underneath the house.
Mm-hmm.
So the mud come up to the floorboards.
So essentially, you need to
And
lift the house up, move the dirt, and put the house back.
actually, no, we pulled the floors out,
Yeah. Oh wow.
and a company came in, and they dug the dirt out. They removed enough dirt 18 inches below the floor joists. But now we have to go in and due to 1884 and the
Right.
type of construction, we have to replace the floor joists.
Which isn't.
Yeah, because we're
Easy-
18
easy
inches
and
below
square,
it, so we
right.
have to go with treated.
Yeah. I was gonna say you're not. It's not. Oh.
And that's the kind of job I like because
Well, you got to think, right? It's not a cookie cutter job.
No, and it's not for the guy that had never worked on stuff like that. I guess I've been pretty fortunate because, like I said, the oldest house we've ever redone is between 1825 and 1850.
That's awesome.
And we've done a lot of houses from the teens.
Mm-hmm.
So working with my dad, listening to my dad, when I was a kid and stuff, that really helped out a bunch because, born in 29, think about the houses
Right.
at his age.
He's dealing with some of those old houses.
And when he got talking about carpentry and stuff, he said the Germans were the best carpenters out there.
Yeah, I've heard this.
But they did not want to teach anybody because they didn't want them to learn the trades.
Keep it in the family, so to speak.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, and that's where the whole the stereotype of the Amish built is coming from, right? Like they're coming from that German tradition.
Correct.
So.
And But, they still do post and beam on everything they do.
Right. It's pretty cool. It's pretty
And,
cool.
if you do it every day, you don't have any trouble. But if you don't do it every day, you're slow. And I have no problem with square timbers, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to doing arch timbers and things like that,
Randy doesn't do well if it's not square.
it's better to hire somebody that's got the machine that does it.
Fair.
All right, because if you're going to do it with a bow saw, it's going to take a while.
That's all right. Well, it's called art. That's the difference.
It is. Matter of fact, the Christian Book Club has that timber tower.
Yes. Yeah.
I've talked to that guy a few years ago that did that. That was his last project. That's what he did for timber framing.
Well, fun stuff. Well, hopefully this tied some things up with the retaining walls here for some people. We appreciate that. And again, if you missed last week's, go back and listen to it on the podcast. And we talked a lot more about the wooden and the gabion and a couple of the other styles. So I think we got it covered. There's always more we could talk about for sure, but hopefully that worked out. And of course, give us a call or shoot us an email or shoot us a Facebook message, and we'll do it. All About Home Construction at Gmail. All About Home Construction on Facebook, and we'll answer more questions if you got them.
Hey,
Randy,
we'll try.
I know, man, it's fun stuff. Well, listen, we're coming up at the beginning of the month. We have another breakfast at the VFW, and then of course next towards the end of the middle of the month, I guess you'd say we got some more pork. So that's coming your way. We'll talk more about that next time. How's that?
Thank you.
All right, man. Well, fun stuff. Good luck this next week. Stay warm, stay dry, and summer's rounding up. So enjoy the last couple weeks of summer before school starts back. How's that?
Yep.
So, all right, man. Well, listen, we'll talk to you later. Everyone else out there, have a good time. Thanks for listening to us, and we'll see you later. Take it easy.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the podcast edition of All About Home Construction. We want to thank Skipper, Dave, and Bill for supporting the show. If you're enjoying this episode and you want to help us by creating some more awesome content, there are a few ways you can show your support. Subscribe and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. This actually helps us reach new listeners and climb the charts. And please share this episode with your friends and family. Word of mouth is always the best kind of advertising. You can support us directly through our page on Spotify. The links are in the show notes. Thanks for listening to us.